welcome to Ros Clark Craft. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much if you've watched me before, but particular thank you and welcome to new subscribers. There have been a few of those in recent months, and I'm sorry there have not been hugely many videos in recent months, but I'm so glad you're here now. Today I have some very exciting news. I have some stitching to show you. I have a little bit of haul, I've got work in progress and some plans, and hopefully, I'm really hoping it won't be too long, this video, because I have got to go out in an hour. So I'm gonna just crack on with, first of all, the very exciting news. I have launched, as of 2 days ago, my Etsy shop. Hooray! So this is very exciting. I've been planning to do this for actually quite a long time. Some of you will know that I have had a number of knitting patterns available for purchase on Ravelry for a few years, and since the great Ravelry accessibility fiasco, I have been meaning to try and make those patterns available elsewhere. At the moment, only one of those has been transferred to the Etsy shop, but my plan is that they will all move across in the fullness of time. They're mostly socks. There's one or two other things. There's a tea cozy. I don't know, maybe that's it. Socks and a tea cozy, something like that. I'm not at the moment planning to add new knitting designs. I can't really knit very well at the moment because of an issue with my hand. So I'm not making any adjustments to the patterns. If you've already bought them, you don't need to buy them again, but I just wanted to make sure they were available somewhere else. So I've been thinking about doing that for a little while, as I say, and then the big sort of push to make me get on with it has been that I now have cross-stitch designs, yay! And obviously I needed somewhere to sell those. So that is what you will find at my Etsy shop. The link is in the description below, but it is just Ros Clark Craft, all one word. Same as my Instagram handle, same as my Ravelry username, same as this channel, Ros Clark Craft. If you're not sure how to spell that, you can check in the link below. So do go and check that out. There are not loads of patterns there at the moment, but there are a handful, and I'm going to talk through the cross-stitch patterns in just a moment. The sock pattern is it's a colourwork pattern. It's got chickens and sheep and rabbits on it. It's quite fun to stitch. You do have to be comfortable with colourwork, and particularly colourwork in the round, to make it still have enough give to use as a sock. I'm not great at that, but lots of people have made them and really like, and they look amazing. It is still a pattern that sells. It's been around for several years now, and every so often people do still buy it. So that was the one I thought I would start with in the transfer. So cross-stitch patterns, let's start with these. So I've been working on a series of designs for Christmas, not huge designs, sort of ornament size, and so there are two main designs. Let me show you both of those together, in fact. Joy to the world, peace on the earth. Now, when I was designing these, I started off designing Joy to the World, and I was thinking about the sort of style, and I liked this sort of vintage look for it. But as I was designing, I was like, actually, I think it could also work quite well in a more contemporary colourway. So then I designed Peace on the Earth, and I just thought, well, actually, I think both of these you could stitch in either a vintage style or a contemporary style. So I've only stitched up one of each, but in the patterns for each of these, you get instructions for both the vintage colourway and the contemporary colourway. And you can see there is a slight difference. So here, Peace on the Earth, you can see how the colour changes sort of halfway through the letters of peace. There's a lighter pink and a darker pink. In the contemporary colourway, the letters in that word are all one colour. And that's true for both the Joy and the Peace designs. So the Peace design uses one extra colour than the modern colourway uses one extra colour compared to the vintage colourway. Whichever pattern you buy, you will get charts for the vintage and the modern colourways for each, and obviously the instructions for the thread colours for each. The charts are the same size. I ought to know this precisely, but I don't. I can't remember off the top of my head. It says in the listing on the Etsy shop anyway, exactly how big they are, but not huge, and as you can see, not full coverage. And these were, I thought they were really fun, enjoyable stitches. I like stitching lettering, but I also like that there's a little bit of design, and I don't know how well it's showing. You can see just a little bit there. The stars on both of them are slightly metallic, and the metallic thread that I used, because it's what I had, was Anchor Lame. Anchor Lame comes, it's sort of, you know, in an ordinary sort of skein, but when you look at it, what you get is 12 very fine metallic strands, and it's absolute nightmare if you try and work with it on its own. What I've done in the vintage colourway is used one strand of the gold along with one strand of DMC, and what I did on the modern colourway is I used 3 strands of the Anchor Lame silver with no DMC, and that's a lot harder work. I do give you some tips in the pattern on how to work with metallic threads, but also I say in the pattern, and I want to say very clearly, use whatever your preferred metallic thread is. If you like Krynic, use Krynic. If you have Petite Treasure Braid, use Petite Treasure Braid. You know, I tried doing it with DMC Etoile and I just didn't like it. Some people really like Etoile, and I'm sure it has its place, but I didn't like it when I was trying it for these. But use what you like. So these are both available as separate patterns, but if you have any interest at all in stitching both of them, you are going to want to look at the bundle. So in the Christmas bundle, so this is Christmas Joy, this is Christmas Peace. I just made both of them into ornaments that, you know, you could hang from a tree, or you could hang, I don't know, around a door handle or wherever you like. There you go. This one's got a sort of trade on back, and I found this, this is sari silk, sort of ripped up sari silk, and I like that, but you could easily use like a chenille or something, just an ordinary kind of trim if you want something a bit neater. I had this wide ribbon that I found in my stash that was just exactly the right colour, and so I made this kind of neat bow and stitched that on top. But finish it how you like, obviously. Anyway, so you get, there are separate listings for each of these. If you just want to stitch one of them, that'll be your best way to go. But if you have any interest in stitching both, you'll want to get the bundle, which includes both of those patterns, both of the colourways for each, and 3 further charts. So very, very small, stable pattern. You can see I thought these would be perfect for card toppers, that's how I finished them. And all I've done is just fringed the edge of the fabric. And this was stitched with the Anchor Lame, and I think maybe I did put 1 strand of DNC together with that on a dark, I think this is like a chalkboard Ada, something like that. All the patterns, by the way, are full cross stitch only. That's not quite true. There are, no, is it true? I think it is true. Yes, I toyed with doing some back stitch crosses, but I don't think I included any. So they're all full cross stitch. So these are all stitched on Ada. I've stitched them on 18 count Ada. You can stitch them obviously on whatever you like. They'll work perfectly well on linen. If you want to stitch them on a smaller count Ada, larger count Ada, you know, fill your boots. So these are perfect for little Christmas card toppers. That's very quick to stitch, as you can see. And to make it even quicker to stitch, don't bother counting where the stars are. You know, put the big star in the right place and then just fill in the rest as you feel like. That's my top tip for doing that quickly. This one, which I think also works really well as a card topper, this is a Bethlehem Small. So this is taken obviously from the Joy design, but changed slightly just to make it work on its own. And this is inspired by the Peace design, but actually I ended up charting an entirely different little bit of the town, just so that it would work better as a sort of standalone there. So Bethlehem Small, Stable Small, and this might even be my favourite of all, Peace and Joy. So this is obviously the lettering from the separate designs, more or less, slightly chunkier, and then filled in with stars. And I didn't use any metallic on this. You obviously could if you wanted to. I just used the DMC, and then I filled in the whole background. I stitched this on perforated paper. You don't have to fill in the whole background if you don't want to, but I preferred the look of that. And then I just backed it with some red felt, obviously cut it out around the design and made it into a little hanging thing. I really like that. Peace and Joy. Now I want to talk to you about the threads that I used and the threads that are called for in the pattern. So for the vintage colourway, I used 3 classic colourworks. Let me find those, and a DMC. So the classic colourworks I used were apple fritter. There's hardly any apple fritter left, so it's worth knowing that took most of a skein. Bean sprout, quite a lot of that left, and crushed pineapple, not much left, but I used that for both colourways, I think. Can't remember. I used it for more than one thing anyway. So, but the apple fritter, you will need pretty much a full skein just to do Joy to the World. So that is what I used on this colourway. And I liked that very much. There are alternatives given, and I want you to know that you don't have to go and get fancy floss if you don't want to, and there are various alternatives. So there are just standard DMC colours given, there are colours for anchor floss given. There are also, because I was in a shop that had it and I just thought, well, actually they match really well, I have got colourways for Gentle Arts threads. Again, you really don't have to go and buy this, but if you've got Gentle Arts and you're thinking, oh, I wonder how that would work, these are the classic colourworks, these are the Gentle Arts, and I think that's a pretty good match. I've left the same DMC thread for use with the metallics, because I just didn't see the point of having a fancy floss for that. So those, if you're looking for Gentle Art, Pineapple Sherbet, Schoolhouse Red, Tiger Lily, will, I think, give you a really similar effect. It's all listed in the pattern, obviously, and there are, like I say, DMC and anchor colourways given. For the contemporary one, I didn't use classic colourworks. This is just stitched in anchor, so these are all solid colourways, and I think that works really nicely, and so I didn't go looking for a fancy floss. There is a DMC conversion given, but again, like I said, I was just in the shop where they had Gentle Art, and oh, I seem to have not picked out, but anyway, in the pattern it's listed, there's poppy, hibiscus, and I think it's mistletoe that worked really nicely for the green. So if you've got Gentle Arts, you could use them, but honestly, if you don't have them already in stash, just stick with what you've got. But the other thing I just did want to mention, the DMC that I picked, and I don't know the colour off the top of my head, but again, it's in the pattern. I picked one of the DMC variegated, and that's what I used for stitching this Peace and Joy. So just to be aware, when you're using a DMC or any other sort of commercial variegated thread, it will have a slight tendency to go a bit stripy, a bit patchy, and you can see that there. It's not quite mottled in the way that you might hope to get when you're using a hand-dyed floss. I think it looks fine for this, and I think it would definitely be fine for this, but you just might want to be a little bit careful as you're stitching and think about how you're cutting your thread, so that you're not getting the same sort of, you're not kind of, if you want to minimize the stripiness and maximize the mottledness, for example. So one thing people say when you're using variegated threads is that you should always do whole crosses. Now I think for something like this, actually if you used half crosses and then go back, you will minimize the variegation and you might get a more subtle mottled effect, and that might be what you want. Anyway, so Christmas bundle, you get Joy to the World, you get Peace on the Earth, you get Peace and Joy, and you get Bethlehem and Stable Smalls. So that is definitely your best value, unless you're absolutely sure you really only want to stitch one of those. So that is the Christmas patterns that are in the shop. And aren't you impressed? I did like real finishing on all of these. I like, you know, made these up and put them on cards and hung ornaments. And honestly, the whole worst thing about doing designing rather than just stitching for myself, taking the photographs. I am really bad at taking photographs. I just am. And that was incredibly stressful. Anyway, I did it, and hopefully they look all right. Now, you've seen this before, although I have actually made some adjustments to it since you saw it. This is my cat Snails Pillow. I'd initially filled this with walnut shells, crushed walnut shells, and it was so heavy. And I was just like, yeah, actually, I need to sort that out. So I took out about half the walnut shells and added some polyester stuffing, you know, fibre fill kind of thing. And now it's much easier to handle, and it also is less soggy because the weight of the walnuts was just really pulling it down. But I've not changed the design on that, but what I have made is the most bonkers thing in the world ever companion piece to that. It is Claudia Winkleman inspired cat snail. If you don't know who Claudia Winkleman is, Google her and you will see what I mean. Anyway, so it's a small, it's taken from obviously the main pattern, but you know, with some adjustments just to make it into its own thing with these little motifs from the border and the word up the side. And I made it into a stand-up, and I sort of cut this too high really. I should have cut it down here, but anyway, I've got this huge amount of fabric here, so it's like, oh, I should just put a fringing on it. Yeah. I mean, I kind of love it, but it is absolutely bonkers. But then, you know, cat snails are bonkers, so I'm sort of all right with that. Anyway, you don't have to finish yours in quite this way if you don't want to. So this pattern is also available. You get the full chart and you get the bonkers small. And that is the first in what I'm calling the Medieval Menagerie series, the cat snails. There's a little bit of explanation of where these come from, and in the listing in the Etsy shop you'll see the images from the manuscripts that these are based on. They're public domain images, so I included them in there so you could see what my inspiration was. I should hold this a bit nearer so you can see them. I like to think of them as having characters. The one in the middle, which is the small, this is obviously nice but dim cat snail. This one is scornful cat snail, and this one is smug cat snail. They definitely have their own personalities, and there we go. I don't know what else I have to say about that. Oh, again, full cross stitches only. So I've stitched this one on 40 count linen, this one on 18 count Ada, but you can stitch them really on any fabric of your choice. If you stitch them on 40 count, as I did this one, your finished piece will fit just about into a 5x7 photo frame. You'll just want to measure it precisely to be sure, but it should do, and so that should make it easy if you wanted to frame it. I am working on the next one in the series. I think I've shown you this before, but I think I might have made some progress on it since I last saw you. So this is going to be elephantine, based on medieval drawings of elephants, and I plan to finish that one in a frame, so you'll see how that one works out. They're going to be 3 in the series, the cat snails, the elephantine, and a sea creatures one. All 3 will have the same stitch count for the main chart. So if you wanted to stitch all 3 you know, 1, 2, 3 going down on the same piece of fabric. That would work really well. Or even stitch them separately but frame them in matching frames. That would also work really nicely. So I don't know who you think would love a cat snail. Maybe you know a medieval scholar. I'm sure they'd love one. Maybe you just like quirky and weird things. That would be great. Yeah, it's different. I think that's what I would say. It's different. And if that's what you like, maybe you know someone who loves sort of fantasy and I don't know. I don't know who you think would love this, but maybe you know someone who would love this. And if you do, if that's what they would love, they probably aren't overburdened with cross stitches that match their interests. Yeah. Oh, threads, that was the other thing I was going to say. These are all just given in Anchor and DMC, not Fancy Floss. Because of the way that the illuminations worked, I just felt like actually solid colours would give a more accurate representation of the artwork, where they sort of used to paint almost in stripes and do shading in that sort of way. So I haven't used any variegated or fancy floss colours, and I don't plan to in this series, but there are options given whether you have Anchor or DMC. So that is everything in the shop, and obviously that is the thing that I'm most excited about, and I hope you will immediately pause the video and go over and look and spend all your money in the shop. You don't have to do that. Good. Right, where are we next? Let's do what else have I been stitching? Well, actually, so I've been stitching that a lot. There's one other work in progress that I can show you and one that I can't. So let's start with the one that I can show you. You've seen this before, but I have definitely made progress since then. This is the Doreen Jones stitch roll from World of Cross Stitching magazine a few months ago. I have got to the point where I am bored with the repeat and I'm now doing my own thing. So this is sort of the end of the repeat here, and you're supposed to just do the same. Yeah, I'm just, you know, playing around with it a bit, putting things in different places, as is my wont. And also I plan to do different colours going all the way across. So there'll be some repeats, but also, you know, they won't all, the repeated colours won't all be in the same place. It's really fun to stitch. It's pretty quick stitch. I'm going to do the whole width of the fabric, which I think will probably be not quite 3 repeats, but that's fine. And then I'm going to sew it up. I bought a pattern, PDF pattern from Etsy for a stitch roll. So the one in the magazine was very basic, and I bought a pattern for one that I think will actually be much more functional. And so I want to finish this and then use this to make that stitch roll. And I am aiming for this to be done by the time of the Stitch in London retreat, which is in about 3 weeks' time. I think it's doable, but I do need to crack on. I'm very excited about the Stitch in London retreat. If you're going to that, do come and say hello. Maybe leave a comment below letting me know so that I can look out for you. I've been talking with Marie from Stitches in Diamonds, who is running the retreat, about 1 or 2 things that are happening at it. And yeah, I can't really tell you about them, but I hope you'll be excited if you're there and when you find out. And I will certainly tell you all about them after the retreat. And so the other thing which I have been working on, but don't want to show you, is my contribution to the Smalls exchange at the retreat. So the idea is that you stitch something up and you put it together in a sort of themed package so that the person who chooses it can't see the actual thing you've stitched, but has an idea, you know, whether it's a Christmas design or a Halloween design or a traditional sampler design or something like that. And I've been working on mine and I'm very excited about it. It's a little bit niche, so I'm hoping there'll be someone there who will absolutely love it. But I hope anyone will enjoy it. Anyway, I'm just going to show you the little bit of haul that I bought specially for this. It's a small, in general, I'm just using stuff from Stash, but this is, I mean, it looks very ordinary. It is glow in the dark thread. Glow in the dark thread. That's what I'm using for mine. So I can't tell you, as I say, much more about that at this stage. Other little bits of haul. I had a fun time earlier in the summer in Cambridge. I can't remember if I've done a video since then. I might have done, but I don't think I showed you this. I'm sorry if I have. I just saw it and I was like, oh, I should tell people about that. And then, yeah, if I've told you about it before, I'm sorry. Anyway, I went into Needlecraft in Cambridge, which is a general craft shop. Upstairs is all about quilting, downstairs there's quite a lot of knitting and all sorts of bits of other things. Not huge amounts of cross stitch stuff, but what I did find was this, which is a linen ribbon band, maybe that's what we want to call that. And I do want to design something. I just think that could be really pretty with a band design on it. So watch this space for that. And then the other thing, gosh, we are getting through this quite quickly. That's very encouraging. My Classic Colourworks subscription has been coming in every month. I get this through Lakeside Needlecraft. They have various thread clubs that you can sign up for different thread suppliers, I guess. And I'm in the Classic Colourworks club. You get 10 skeins every month. They invoice you, you pay your invoice, and then they send out the thread. And I like the way they do it. They start at the beginning of the alphabet and work their way through. Now, all my Classic Colourworks threads, most of my Classic Colourworks threads are on this skein ring. And I wonder if you can tell, I've divided them into the section where I've started getting the club colours and the section where these are just ones that I purchased on my own. I wonder if you can tell which are the club colours and which are the ones that I bought myself. Obviously, these are the ones that I bought myself because I liked them. And these are obviously quite a different range of colours. And this is why I think the club is a good thing, certainly for someone like me, certainly if you're designing, because it does mean you get the colours that you're not instinctively drawn to. And yet those are often the colours that are quite important in designing. There's a lot more very pale colours, for example, which don't show well on screen, don't catch my eye, but actually do make a really big difference in a design when you're thinking about, have I got the right highlight colour? There's also quite a lot of very dark colours, which again, don't often draw my attention, but are really important in design. So Blackbird, this sort of really, really dark brown. What have we got here? Bing Cherry, I do like that. I might have bought that. Blacksmith Blue, that's beautiful, sort of steely dark blue. Balsam Fir, dark green. So good colours there, outside of my normal range, but also ones that I might want to use. The most beautiful colour I think that's come so far is this Bejeweled, and the camera is not really picking it up, but it's a really deep sort of, I wouldn't say proper teal. People use the word teal a lot to mean anything that's vaguely sort of aqua or turquoise or greenish blue. And teal is an actual thing, and teal colour is the colour of the actual teal bird. And I would say that is more or less the colour of this thread. It is a very dark, beautiful, variegated greenish blue, and it's lovely. That's Bejeweled. Anyway, so those have been coming. I have taken out this little selection. I've got a project in mind that I think will be my next design project. So what I want to do is obviously Elephantine and the next one after that to complete the 3 in the Medieval Menagerie series. I've also got plans for Easter designs, sort of following the pattern of those 2 Christmas designs that I've done. But I also want to do a seasonal series, and I'd really like to have these out at the start of the new year. And I think they're going to be 4 designs, obviously for the 4 seasons, each of which will have a sort of pinkish red and a blue pairing. Let's see if we can get those in their pairing. So dark, sort of muted medium and pale, and also I think probably the same sort of white neutral with all of them. And they're only going to be small designs, but the idea will be that, again, you can either stitch just one, or you could stitch all four to make a bigger design. And I don't know that I've necessarily completely fixed on the pairs of colours, so I'm not telling you what they are now. I haven't started to stitch these up. I've started on some of the designs. So that's where I'm going next with that. Just the last thing that I had in mind that I was going to let you know was about Carmen. So some of you will remember the antique reproduction sampler that I charted a year or so ago. Those charts are still available for free on my website and will continue to be so. What I do plan to do, because I released those in sections as a sort of stitch along, is I do plan to put the whole thing together into one PDF with the various alternatives that I charted. You remember some of it stitched over one and some of it was stitched in specialty stitches, and I wanted to give alternatives for people who preferred to stitch on Ada or didn't like stitching over one, and people who preferred not to do the specialty stitches. So there's various things in that, and I do plan to put all of that together at some point into one big PDF and make that version available for sale. But like I say, if you want to stitch it, or you're still stitching it from the free PDFs that came as part of the stitch along, that's completely fine, and those will not be going anywhere. Good. I don't think I have anything else to say. Thank you so much for watching. Do let me know. I would love to have more people interacting in the comments. So I do try and ask a question every time, which occasionally someone even answers. So here's my question this time. Do you stitch Christmas designs? Do you stitch Christmas cards or Christmas decorations from around your house? And if so, what is your current or favourite Christmas cross-stitch design? How about that? Do you let me know what you think? And next time maybe we'll do a little show and tell gallery of viewers' favourites. How about that? Viewers' favourites. So do let me know if you've got a favourite or a current or both Christmas cross-stitch design. And if you've got a link to it, that's great, but don't worry if you haven't. Good, thanks so much for watching then, and I will be back after Stitch in London, I should think. So that is mid-October. Oh, I was going to just mention, Marie, who's organising it, put up a video a week or so ago for people who are booked in, and in that she did mention there are 1 or 2 spaces still available. So if you aren't booked in, or you're just now hearing about it and you're kind of thinking, oh, that sounds interesting, I'd like to go to a stitch retreat, it's actually in Watford, just outside London, in October, then do go and check out her channel. I'll put the link below, and you can get in touch with her and see if there is still a place available. So I will record after that. I might try and get some footage at the retreat. There's going to be a table where people bring their favourite projects that they've done, so I'll try and get some photos of those, and the Smalls exchange, and who knows what else. And I will be able to show you my secret Smalls exchange project. I will try and make sure I take good photos of that before I give it away so that I can show it with you. And yeah, I think that's it. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Thank you, bye.